leading the pack, that's P1. And just behind us are Norris, Russell and Leclerc. The fastest lap at this point in time is a 1:30.1. We don't currently have the data for that request. First position, front of the pack, and we're in front of Norris, Piastri and Russell. Currently the fastest lap is a 1:29.6. Sorry, we can't provide you with that information right now.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves once again of our top three: Daniel, Russell and Oscar Piastri. Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow. Marina Bay hosted a Grand Prix that briefly ran in the 60s and 70s, but the Garden City re-entered the calendar for good in 2008. We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. Things have changed slightly around the Marina Bay circuit for 2023. 4 corners have been taken out, the lap length reduced to just over 3 miles. That might be a welcome relief to the drivers, might be even more of a relief for their brakes. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Daniel lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Théo Pourchaire, Albon, Doohan, Liam Lawson, Yuri Vips, Ocon, Tsunoda, Drugovich, Hauger, Gasly, Joe, Stroll, Magnussen, Ricciardo and Logan Sargent. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. Let's talk about Daniel. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway and the track temperature looks warm. And that may or may not play into some of the team's hands in today's race. We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Use your overtake button more. It's time to utilise some of this energy. Come on. The track is clear, green flag. Okay, safety car deployed, safety car's been deployed. Watch your delta, make sure you keep it positive as we catch the pack. Okay, watch your pace, we've been informed the safety car is out. There's a good chance to change our strategy for the rest of the Grand Prix. This feels a bit like deja vu here, but there's a good opportunity to get this start spot on. Come on. Russell behind. Okay, push, push. Gap to the car behind. 7.7 seconds. Okay, they're on old hard tyres. Okay, they've done 10 laps on those tyres. And the time last lap was a 1 minute 34.6. Okay, listen, don't worry about it, mate. It can happen to the best of us. Now look, I've put a new strategy option for you in the MFD, so go and have a look. Okay, we've got a full course caution. The safety car's out. Keep an eye on the delta. We need to keep it positive to avoid a penalty. Slow down, maintain.
Yet another historic win under their belts. Well done to the whole team at Mercedes. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
There's a few contenders, but George Russell definitely stood out, I think. A really solid drive from him today, and one I'm sure the fans enjoyed.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. It was a tough race for our championship leaders, who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, AlphaTauri's strong weekend allows them to continue their march up the table. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Thanks for stepping in and helping handle that.
first position, front of the pack. And we're in front of Norris, Vips and Doohan. Currently, the fastest lap is a 1:20.1. Sorry, we can't provide you with that information right now.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who'll be fronting the grid. Daniel, Norris and Alex Albon. With qualifying complete, all that remains now is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then. Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Daniel lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Albon, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Tsunoda, Doohan, Hauger, Leclerc, Yuri Vips, Teo Pourchaire, Liam Lawson, Drugovich, Gasly, Sargent, Ricardo, Joe, Stroll, Magnussen and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Daniel. The last few races have been a bit rough for them, unable to get a clean run. That's got to have some effect on their confidence, surely.
Certainly confidence is an important factor. And every time you're involved in an incident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence.
The formation lap gets underway ahead of today's sprint. It's going to be interesting to see who gets pole position.
Lick the stamp and sense it.
Yes, mate, I cannot complain about that one. That was an excellent drive. Well done.
Well, not the result our points leader would have wanted, but it certainly makes things interesting going forward. So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Well, that wraps up the sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then. Welcome to Qatar, and hello from the desert rain. Well, there's not been much rainfall, but it's concentrated right here and just in time for the Qatar Grand Prix. We're back here in Lusail for a track that's 3.34 miles long. There are 16 turns around its unique three-prong shape and just a single DRS zone out of turn 16. It's fast and it's flowing, and there's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS down the long straight and into turn 1. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Daniel lines up on pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Doohan, Sonoda, Yuri Vips, Norris, Russell, Teo Pourchaire, Hauger, Leclerc, Liam Lawson, Drugovich, Gasly, Albon, Sargent, Joe, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Ocon, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson is alongside me, as usual, for today's race. Let's talk about Daniel. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres. As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
battery charge is high, let's use that overtake button a bit more. Good job, that was the fastest lap of the race so far. Fastest lap of the race. Keep this up. Well done. Okay, we're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
And away we go. No problems, really smooth. McLaren will no doubt be very happy with that.
Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound. Got a lot of spare energy, okay to use your overtake button. great manoeuvre. You made it look so easy. Oscar's coming in for his stop now. Our gap behind is 2.5 seconds. Just a reminder, we're critical on fuel, probably a lap or so short. We don't need to risk a DNF chasing records, so let's think about starting to conserve fuel, maybe lifting early into the corners. Okay, we've only got one lap of fuel remaining. Okay, mate, final lap. Keep your concentration and let's bring it home.
stamp and sent it.
Oh, superb driving. That is the race win, my friend. Well done.
And that's the checkered flag. What an effort from the team here in Qatar. And a fully deserved victory too. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm very happy to see them there on that top step of the podium. So let's review the updated drivers' standings. Daniel takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Daniel.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. McLaren continue to increase their gap at the top. Another team that will be satisfied with this Grand Prix is Alfa Romeo, whose good result moves them further up the championship. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.